Former Joburg Mayor Dr. Mpho has approached the High Court to have last week's special council meeting declared unlawful. That session saw her being removed from office with the ANC's Dada Morero taking over. Palate has described the sitting as a corrupt power grab. She's attempted to interdict a motion of no confidence against her, but that matter was struck off the roll. Her latest bid, we're told, will be heard next Tuesday. Meanwhile, the DA will today be challenging the ANC's cadre deployment policy in court. The opposition party issued court action after the Zondo Commission found the policy was unlawful. And in fact, it was unlawful for the President and ministers to consider recommendations of cadre deployment committee when appointing public servants. Let's make sense of this for you now, bringing the DA spokesperson for public service and administration. That's Schreiber, who joins us via our video link this morning. Great to see you, Leon. Thanks very much indeed for making time to chat to us. So in the ANC's policy documents, they almost suggest that cadre deployment as a standalone idea isn't morally reprehensible, but it's the flawed application of this policy that led to what they say is untold damage. Is that a concession that the DA is willing to accept?
Good morning, Ayanda, and good morning to the viewers as well. No, I don't think that is an accurate characterization, actually, of what is going on here, because it's not the application of the policy that is flawed. It is the policy itself that is flawed, and that is something that we're arguing very strongly in our court papers, to say that state capture and corruption is not an accidental outcome of cadre deployment. It is the only and default outcome of the system. The reason for this argument is that cadre deployment actually in many ways outsources decisions about who should be appointed into positions of power away from the public selection process that many people would be familiar with when you apply to work in a government position, and actually assigns that power to the 15 members of the ANC's cadre deployment committee, a private, secretive organization which actually then ends up taking decisions and influencing appointment decisions in secret. And that is also why today's hearing is particularly important, because I just need to clarify that there are actually two court challenges from the DA against cadre deployment. There is the challenge to abolish it and declare it unconstitutional, but there's also today's hearing which focuses on actually exposing additional information about how this committee operates. So today's challenge or hearing is about the Promotion of Access to Information Act. It is about transparency, and what we're trying to achieve is to actually expose complete records. This is everything from minutes to other documentation, to email conversations, to WhatsApp conversations, showing how the cadre deployment committee operated all the way back to 2013 when President Ramaphosa became its chairperson.
The principle, of course, is not restricted to the ANC. I mean, those, for instance, who are sympathetic or who find that the policy resonates will say, surely something ought to be said about an organization being able to get power through votes, putting their people where they think those people should be because they believe that their organization has the best candidates to offer. What do you say to that broader principle around why parties contest power to begin with? Oh, what a pity. Looks like our connection to Leon on that moment has frozen. Not a bad place to freeze, by the way. It looks like he was thinking deeply about my question. Anyway, we'll try and reestablish that in just a moment and hopefully be able to continue that conversation. I'm told Leon is back. Leon, I'm not sure if you were able to catch my last question there.
No, Sure. And I was pondering deeply, yes. Sorry about that.
Please go ahead.
I am under load shedding here. Just briefly to answer that question, the first instance, of course, why you contest political power is to be able to make policy. And you do that through politically elected positions, whether that's the president, the premier, mayors, whatever the case may be. And it's obviously entirely correct that in a democracy, political power is distributed in terms of election results in those positions. But what we are talking about and what this case is really about is about the Constitution makes it very clear that that should be something that is independent and separate from party politics. In fact, Section 1973 of the Constitution says that no person may be advantaged or disadvantaged on the basis of party politics. And it's very, very clear in our view and in our submissions that cadre deployment violates this principle, and therefore it is unconstitutional, and that is why we're working to abolish it. So there's nothing wrong with the government that makes policy and with a political party that's elected that gets the right and power to do so. There's everything wrong with a political party that seeks to capture the administration, which is supposed to be independent, and it's fundamentally about the separation between party and state.
To be fair, the ANC itself concedes that things went horribly wrong. I mean, they've accepted the findings of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, and if that's anything to go by, we are able to draw links between this policy and things like state capture. It raises new questions around what accountability looks like in that context. What does the DA say about that?
Well, we actually think that this case is likely the first instance of real accountability on the basis also of the Zondo Commission's findings. And that's why it's so disappointing that the President, not in his capacity as President of the ANC, but in his capacity as President of the Republic, has chosen to oppose this court case. We believe it would have been far more appropriate for the President to simply abide by what the court rules in terms of our challenge to cadre deployment, because it's not appropriate for the President of the Republic to use state resources to protect any political party's policy. And so I think that that shows a lot about how determined the ANC is to hang on to this policy, and frankly also a determination on the side of the President not to implement this particular finding from the Zondo Commission. I mean, we started this conversation with the quote that you read about how the Zondo Commission said it is unconstitutional for anyone to receive recommendations or instructions from a deployment committee on who to appoint. And that's why it's very disappointing that we are being opposed in this manner by the President as well. But at the end of the day, this really is about accountability for cadre deployment and the role that it really played in laying the foundation for state capture, which, as you correctly say, the ANC recognizes that there was a huge role played by this committee, but they seek to make us believe that it was somehow an aberration or an accident. Our argument is very clear. You cannot but have corruption and state capture if you have cadre deployment.
Very interesting take. I wonder what the courts will say. Leon Schreiber, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. Really do appreciate your time on this Wednesday morning. Leon, of course, is the DA spokesperson for Public Services and Administration.